Shalom, everybody. So I told people I was going to be doing this live. So let me make sure my connection working. All right, so connection working fine. So I told people I was going to be doing this, and I'm gonna upload those other Jeremiah videos probably starting tomorrow. I just been sitting on them, so just want to get into this real quick. So just give me a second. I'll turn this down so I'm not hearing myself talk. So basically what I'm gonna be covering is the book of Enoch, where it mentions God's laws, and going into another book or whatever. So let me see here. First, hopefully my connection don't start messing up when I do this. Let me see. So first thing I want to do is, if you guys haven't caught the video that I just posted earlier, I did it before the show so that I could basically show you guys what I'm gonna be reading from and what Enoch was talking about. So just give me a second real quick. Let me make sure I can pull this up. So let me see here. All right, so give me 1 second. 1 second. All right, so mute my video here. I'm gonna share this. Let me just get to the part that I want to get to real quick. Because in the beginning, I'm just talking about, them, spraying the sky, right? But showing these trees here, and let me see if I can bring that up as well while this is, okay. All right. So this is the video that I've done just earlier. Okay. I just want to show, just skim through this real quick. Okay. So as you see, this is, this is one of my apple trees here, and this is the other apple tree in the back. The leaves of these apple trees are stripped. Okay. And let me go a little bit further here. Just walking up, showing that. Now here, let me see if that's it. This is another thing that I'm going to be covering, dealing with the book of Enoch. Let me see here. All right, let me see. I believe it's that frame. All right, so you might not see it very good because, again, they were spraying. But right here is the moon. Okay, this is the moon right here. This dot in the middle here. So that's the moon. This is at 9 in the morning here. Let's see if I could. Let me see. This is going to play from about right here, so you guys can see that, that's the moon right there. So that's the moon, 9 in the morning. All right. So this is what I want to get into today. Hello, Rita. Good morning. So this is what I want to get into today. Let's see here. All right, so let's get into this real quick. What I got is what I read in the last life I did dealing with God's law. We understand Enoch was seventh from Adam. He was the seventh generation from Adam, meaning he was 7 generations away from when Adam was created. Okay. Let's just make sure this is still doing fine. And if you guys see any of those people coming in and spamming, if there's any other mods in here, please just throw them out. Let me make sure my connection is right. All right, so give me a second. I gotta hook my Wi-Fi up to my computer. Hold on, because I hear I'm lagging a little. Oh, better. You will see. Wi-Fi and my router into my computer, and my whole thing just shut down. I find that very, very odd. I just find that very, very odd. Okay. But anyway, show must roll on, right? I know it's charged, so that's not the problem. Yeah, my whole Wi-Fi just shut down. Shalom, D-Tech. Because as soon as I plug my Wi-Fi into the computer, the whole thing just shut down. It's not turning on. So find that very, very fascinating. But see, I have other backups, so you know. All right, so where was I? Oh yeah. So dealing with the book of Enoch. Sorry about the whole thing, right? So book of Enoch. I just went into showing um, so I showed the tree that yeah. You guys give me a second. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my connection here. It's very, very fascinating too that, whoever these people is that come in and put those um so there's that. Let's see here. Anyway, I'm not gonna fumble around with that. Yeah, my connection is going in and out, so you guys gotta bear with me real quick. Real quick. All right. So what I was talking about was when I had the video earlier, posted a video earlier showing the trees that are basically stripped. And let me know if you guys can hear me. But dealing with Enoch, right? And this you guys are gonna have to deal with. You guys are gonna have to bear with me. Just bear with me real quick. Let me see here. All right. So it's the book of Enoch. And we're told to contemplate all the events in the sky, right? Let me just see here real quick. Because I'm going to bring this up. I'm also going to go into the book of Esdras, which is who we would call Ezra, right? Let me get this here. Okay. Contemplate all the events in the sky, how the lights, key word, how the lights, that's all they are, lights. How the lights in the sky do not change their courses, how each rises and sets in order, each at its proper time, and they do not transgress their law, right? So talks about considering the earth and understand from the work that is done upon it. Understand from the things that are done upon the earth, from the beginning to the end, that no work of God changes as it becomes manifest. So that means the way he created this earth from the beginning even on down to the end, is going to be the same way. It's not going to be different. But of course, you know, people say that it's different. But we go down here, and this is the part here where I was showing in the video. We're going to read through some of this. We're going to read through some of this in the book of Enoch. I got some stuff that I want to show you guys that's in the book of Enoch and how it ties in with the Bible, and also in the book of Esdras, when Esdras is given an account of the creation. As you see here, God's work in creation. Okay. So it says, consider the summer and the winter, how the whole earth is full of water, and the clouds and dew and rain rest upon it. Contemplate and see how all the trees appear withered, and all their leaves are stripped, with the exception of 14 trees which are not stripped, which remain with the old leaves until the new come after 2 or 3 years. Now, let me stop sharing real quick, and let me try and find this this thing here. Now, notice that it says that there are 14 trees that retain their leaves for 2 or 3 years until the new ones come in. And this is, let me see, where is this? All right, let me get this off here. So, let me share this real quick. Let me share this real quick. All right, so this is somebody, this is on Answers, right? And someone asked, what are the 14 trees that do not lose their foliage in the winter? The best answer 17 hours ago. It was answered 17 hours ago. And I was up trying to find this, and I found it. So they say that the 14 trees are the fir, the pine, the spruce, the cedar, the cypress, the hemlock, the olive, citrus, which also when you look at the video where I was showing the trees that are stripped, there's an orange tree in someone's backyard, and it's a citrus tree. And that is one of the trees that are not stripped. You see in the video that all the other trees are stripped except for these trees here. And we have, a whole lot of these: magnolia, eucalyptus, gum, holly, yew, and redwoods, right? We have most of these, but these are the 14 trees. Then I found this very interesting in the comments. This is what someone said in the comments. I came to this answer after doing a cleansing that was said to release 14 to 17 layers. It was because of a line in the book of Enoch that I did not fully comprehend. Let's read this further. That I came here. Your answer was given 17 hours earlier, as was, okay, so this person's talking about meditating, but this was 8 months ago. Okay. So they posted this 8 months ago, and that, I guess, was 17 hours before she talked about this. So I just found that very interesting, that she says she was asking because of a line in the book of Enoch, right? So clearly, sorry, I bring back up the book of Enoch. I closed it out. So clearly, as it says in here, let's go back to page 12 here. As it says here, right? says here, contemplate and see all the trees appear wither, and all their leaves are stripped, with the exception of 14 trees. Okay, and it's 14 trees exactly. 14. Which are not stripped, which remain with the old leaves until new come after 2 or 3 years. Again, contemplate the days of summer, how at its beginning the sun is above it. You seek shelter and shade because of the heat of the sun, and the earth burns with scorching heat that you cannot tread upon the earth or upon a rock because of its heat. Now, you know, anybody with common sense would know. See, nowadays we got shoes. I don't think they had shoes back then. Okay, so they had to walk, and there's many other verses in the Bible that talks about that, right? When it says, take off your shoes, for this is holy ground. When Moses, I believe that was Moses. No, it could have been Abraham or Moses, but one of them was told to take off their shoes or whatever, because what they were walking on was holy ground. And that was, I think that was Abraham when he was going through the whole thing. But talks about also contemplate how the trees are covered with green leaves and bear fruit, and understand in respect of everything, and perceive how he who lives forever made all these things for you, and how his works are before him in each succeeding year, and all his works serve him and do not change. So again, they do not change. As you see right here, do not change, right? But as God has decreed, so everything is done. So what he said in the beginning is, you know, what he said. And it talks about down here, consider how the seas and the rivers together complete their task. But you have not persevered in nor observed the law of the Lord, but you have transgressed and spoken proud and hard words with your unclean mouth against his majesty. You hard of heart, you will not have peace. So that's talking about those that are speaking against his law right there, dealing with the creation, I believe. When you go into the creation account, you'll find some very interesting things, right? You'll find that the light here was created before the sun. You'll see that there is water above the sky. You'll also see that the earth came before the sun. You'll also see that trees, plants, and grass and herbs didn't even need the sun to grow in the beginning. On the fourth day, after the earth, after the water, the seas were made, and after the earth and the trees and all, then was the sun, the moon, and the stars made on the fourth day. Then you see that birds were brought forth out of the water. Every fish and every bird came from the water. Beast and man came from the earth, right? As you see here, God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. He told them the same thing he told man, right? Then you see, according to scripture, that the cattle, the creeping thing, and the beast of the earth after its kind came from the earth here. Then you go down and you see man is made from the earth. Fish and fowl from the water, beast and man from the earth. But the things that people, I see people don't even get when it comes to this, is that the earth was before the sun. But we listen to science that tells us the sun was here first. And that's a big issue. Now, let me get into page 39 here. Let's get into page 39, the fragrant trees. This is where Enoch was basically taking his journey through the earth in Sheol. And people should know what Sheol is. It's the underworld. And from there I went to another place of the earth, and he showed me a mountain of fire that blazed day and night. And I went toward it and saw 7 magnificent mountains. Kind of reminds me of the 7 mountains that and it's always these numbers: 7, 12, 40, 70, 10 mentioned in the Bible. They all got their specific meanings. And all were different from one another, and precious and beautiful stones, and all were precious in their appearance, glorious, and their form was beautiful. 3 toward the east, one fixed firmly on another, and 3 towards the south, one on another, and deep and rugged valleys, none of which was near another. And there was a 7th mountain in the middle of these, and in their height they were all like the seat of a throne, and fragrant trees surrounded it. And there was among them a tree such as which I have never smelt, and none of them or any others were like it. It smells more fragrant than any fragrance, and its leaves and its flowers and its wood never withered. And this kind of reminds me of what we see in the Bible described as the tree of life. And it talks about, and its fruit is good, and its fruit is like branches of dates on a palm. Let me go into this real quick. Give me a second. So in Revelation 22, it talks about the tree. Let me see here. I'm going to get 22 here. So it said, and he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. And in the midst of the street of it, on either side of the river, there was a tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the trees were for the healing of the nations. And this is the tree that I believe, because he said that this tree don't have the leaves never wither. It has fruit. Then I said, behold, this beautiful tree, beautiful to look at and pleasant as are its leaves, and its fruit very delightful in appearance. That Michael, one of the holy and honored angels who was with me and was in charge of them, answered and said, Enoch, why do you ask about the fragrance of this tree, and why do you inquire to learn? And then Enoch, answered him, saying, I wish to learn about everything, but especially about this tree. And he answered me, saying, this high mountain which you saw, whose summit is like the throne of the Lord, is the throne of the holy and great one, and the Lord of glory, the eternal King, will sit, and when he comes down to visit earth for good. And it's talk about his second coming here. It's talk about Christ. And this beautiful and fragrant tree, and no creature of flesh has authority to touch it until the great judgment, when he will take vengeance on all and bring everything to a consummation forever. This will be given to the righteous and the humble. So this is talking about the same tree here, what Enoch was saying. And from its fruit, life will be given to the chosen, the tree of life. Toward the north, it will be planted in a holy place by the house of the Lord, the eternal King. Then they will rejoice with joy and be glad in the holy place. They will each draw the fragrance of it into their bones, and they will live a long life on earth as your fathers lived. And in their days, sorrow and pain and toil and punishment will not touch them. And this is also talking about when it talks about in the Bible, there's going to be no more death, no more curse, and things like that. Let's get this one off the screen here. And then it goes on to say, then I bless the Lord of glory, the eternal King, because he has prepared such things for righteous men and has created such things and said that they are to be given to them. And from there I went to the middle of the earth and saw a blessed, well-watered place, which had branches which remain alive and sprouted from a tree which had been cut down. Now, this is talking about the tree of not the knowledge of good and evil, when it talks about this tree that was cut down. And there I saw a holy mountain, and under the mountain, to the east of it, there was water, and it flowed towards the south. And I saw towards the east another mountain, which was of the same height, and between them there was a deep, narrow valley, and in it a stream ran by the mountains. Now, this is talking about Eden. Okay, this is talking about Eden. When you read in, where is that? Let me see. Let me find my notes real quick. But when you read about the Garden of Eden, it talks about 4 rivers that split and goes out and waters the earth. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Let me see. I just had a revelation what happened to rocking chairs. See, that's where this country went wrong. I need to get a rocking chair. Huh. Okay. So let's see here. So toward the east. All right. And to the west of this one was another mountain, which was lower than it was and not high. And under it, there was a valley between them. There was another deep, dry. There were other deep and dry valleys at the end of the 3 mountains. And it talks about, these places where God created. It talks about the prison of the fallen angels. It talks about where the righteous are going to dwell. It talks about where sinners go. This one right here says, then I said, what is the purpose of this blessed land, which is completely full of trees, and of this accursed valley in the middle of them? Then Raphael, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered me and said to me, this accursed valley is for those who are cursed forever. Here they will be gathered together, all who speak with their mouths against the Lord, words that are not fitting, and they say hard things about his glory. Here they will gather them together, and here will be their place of judgment. And in the last days, there will be a spectacle of the righteous judgment upon them in front of the righteous forever. For here the merciful will bless the Lord of glory, the eternal King. And in the days of the judgment on them, they will bless him on account of his mercy, according as he has assigned to their lot. And this is talking about, different areas in the earth. I'm trying to see what's going on with my what's his name real quick. Just give me a second. I'm still trying to figure this out, why my Wi-Fi thing is just not working anymore. Let me see something. Anyway, so he talks about he goes to the east, and from there I went towards the east, and to the middle of the mountain of the wilderness, I saw only desert, but it was full of trees from this seed, and water gushed out over it from above. So again, water gushed out over it from above. When you read in Job, it talks about how God waters the earth. The torrent which flowed towards the northwest seemed copious, and from all sides there went up spray and mist. And I went to another place away from the wilderness. I came near to the east of this mountain, and there I saw trees of judgment, especially vessels of the fragrance of incense and myrrh. And the trees were not alike. And above the mountains of the east, and not far away, I saw another place, valleys of water, like that which does not fail. And I saw a beautiful tree, and its fragrance was like that of the mastic. So he's going through all this. And he's given a description of this tree, this other tree, where it smells like cinnamon and all that stuff. And he gives a location. He says that this tree is basically near the Red Sea or whatever. This is where it was. And it talks about the garden and the tree of wisdom. Talks about that stuff. But I want to keep this kind of short, so let's move on real quick. There's another thing I want to point out here. So this tree of wisdom here was the same tree that Adam and Eve ate from, right? Because it says it right here. And this is talk about, and I came to the garden of righteousness and I saw beyond those trees many large trees growing there, sweet smelling, large, very beautiful and glorious, the tree of wisdom, from which they eat and know great wisdom. And it is like the corb tree, and its fruit is like branches of grapes on a vine, very beautiful. And the smell of this tree spreads and penetrates afar. And I said, this tree is beautiful. How beautiful and pleasing is its appearance. And the holy angel Raphael, who was with me, answered me and said to me, this is the tree of wisdom from which your ancient father and ancient mother, Adam and Eve, who were before you, ate and learned wisdom. And their eyes were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they were driven from the garden. So we know that's Adam and Eve right there. Remember, Enoch is the seventh generation away from Adam, which means after Adam, 7 generations down, there's Enoch. Let's see what else I'm gonna get into dealing with this. I wanted to point some of this stuff out. So it talks about this part. I don't think this is anything to do. All right. So this is another thing that I want to point out, because this is what Job was being asked right here. So we understand Uriel is the leader of the constellations and their positions, and he was the one that showed Enoch the course of the heavenly luminaries, right? Or the revolution of the stars, basically. So it says here, so Uriel showing Enoch this, one of the 4 archangels. And he showed me everything, and I wrote it down. and also their names he wrote down for me, and their laws and their functions. And from there I went towards the north, to the ends of the earth. We're going to hear this a lot. Even in the Bible, it says there are ends to the earth. Right. And I saw a great and glorious wonder at the ends of the whole earth. And there I saw 3 gates of heaven. Through each of them north winds go out. And when they blow, there is cold, hail, frost, snow, fog, and rain. Now, this is another thing, right? Job 38. Not a lot of people, go into Job a lot. But this is what it says in Job. And this is what Enoch was being shown. Remember, Enoch came before Job here. So it talks about Job being answered, from the Most High out of a whirlwind. This is what it says. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that darkeneth my counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. This is the key right here. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. So he's asking about where was Job when he created the foundation of the earth. He wasn't around. Nobody was around. We'll get this in Ezra's, right? Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched the line upon it, the horizon? Whereupon the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? Talk about the earth has a cornerstone. When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Or who shut up the sea with doors when it brake forth as it hath issued out of the womb? When I made the cloud the garment thereof, and thick darkness a swaddling band for it, and break up for it my decree place, and set bars and doors. So God said he put bars and doors somewhere. And said, hitherto shalt thou come, but no further. And here shall thy proud waves be stayed. Now, this is another thing here, right? You go here and no further. Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days, and caused the day spring to know its place. Talking to Job, asking him about how he created the earth here. That it might take hold of the ends of the earth. Here you go again. The ends of the earth. That the wicked might be shaken out of it. It is turned as the clay to the seal, and they stand as a garment. And from the wicked their light is withholden, and the high arm shall be broken. Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea? Or hast thou walked in the search of the depth? Have the gates of death been opened unto thee? Or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of death? Hast thou perceived the breadth of the earth? Declare if thou knowest it all. Where is the way where light dwelleth? And as for darkness, where is the place thereof? I'm going to get into a video. I'm going to get into a video of this guy later on a cruise. And this guy is, I believe he's up near Alaska or something. This guy's on a boat. He's looking at the day shining bright. And to the left or to the right of him, when he pans right, complete darkness, and the moon is sitting right there. Okay. Complete darkness. Shalom, Yasun. I see you in the chat. And shalom to everybody else that joined. I'm still trying to figure out why my what's his name ain't working. So it also says here that thou shouldest take it to the bound thereof, and thou shouldest know the paths to the house thereof. This is what Enoch was talking about right here. When he was talking about these gates and all this stuff he was talking about. Well, you'll see this part right here. You'll see this part right here being brought up in a minute. It talks about the hoar frost, the snow, the fog, the rain. Let's get into that. Says, knowest thou it, because thou wast then born, or because the number of thy days is great? Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow, or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war? By what way is the light parted, and which scattereth the east wind upon the earth? Who have divided a water course for the overflowing waters, or a way for the lightning of thunder? So all this is talking about how he created the earth here, to cause it to rain on the earth, where no man is, on the wilderness, wherein there is no man, to satisfy the desolate and waste ground, to cause the bud of the tender herb to spring forth. Hath the rain a father, who hath begotten the drops of dew? And it talks about all this. You guys could go and read. Talks about the, Orion. You know what Orion is, right? Everybody knows that Orion is a constellation of stars that's in the sky, right? Talks about canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? And it talks about Arcturus, right? Arcturus is also another constellation in the sky. Mazzaroth, I don't know what that is. I believe Mazzaroth is another constellation, but I haven't seen yet. I'm going to look in my sky map. Knowest thou the ordinance of heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth? Canst thou lift up thy voice to the clouds, that abundance of waters may cover thee? Canst thou send lightnings, that they may go and say unto thee, here we are? And it talks about him putting wisdom in the inward parts of people, who have given them understanding to the heart. And, basically just talking about his creation here. Talk about how, animals react to certain things, how ravens are provided their food, right? But that's just in Job. So this is what Enoch was saying. And there I saw 3 gates of heaven. Through each of them north winds go out. When they blow, there is cold, hail, hoarfrost, snow, fog, and rain. And from the one gate, it blows for good. But when they blow through the other 2 gates, it is with force, and it brings torment over the earth. And they blow with force. And from there I went towards the west, to the ends of the earth. And I saw there, as I saw in the east, 3 open gates, as many gates and as many outlets. And from there I went towards the south, to the ends of the earth again. And there I saw 3 gates of heaven open, and the south wind, the mist, the rain, the wind come out from there. So he's being shown all these gates. He talks about, where the stars come out. He talks about basically where the rain comes out. Snow, hail, frost, dew, right? Now let me go into page 87, because as you see in that video that I posted earlier this morning, when I was looking at the trees, I also filmed the moon being out at 9 o'clock in the morning. Let me see, page 87. Let's go to page 87. The storehouses. This is, again, also talks about Christ here. So it said, and it came to pass after this, that while he was that while he was living, his name was lifted from those who dwell upon the earth, upon the dry ground, to the presence of that Son of Man and to the presence of the Lord of Spirits. So, we see Christ was mentioned as, being in the beginning with the Father during the creation. And he was lifted in chariots and spirit, and his name vanished from among them. This is talking about Enoch when he was taken up. And from that day I was not counted among them, and he placed me between two winds, between the north and the west, where the angels took the cords to measure for me the place for the chosen and the righteous. This is also mentioned in Revelation. Okay, when it talks about the angel standing with the measuring reed. Let's just bring that up as well. Where is that? Revelation 11, right? Enoch's talking about this right here. Talking about where the chosen and the righteous are going to be. And how the angel goes and measures. Well, it's the same thing here. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of God and the altar, and them that worship therein. And we understand, but this says, this one alludes to Luke, but the court which was out, which is without the temple, leave out, measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles in the holy city, shall they tread underfoot 42 months. But I just want to get this first verse here. So it talks about this angel here, and talks about they got these cords to measure the place that the righteous are going to be, the chosen and the righteous. And there I saw the first fathers and the righteous who from the beginning of the world dwelt in that place. Let's talk about those that came before Enoch. And it came to pass after this that my spirit was carried off, and it went up into heaven, into the heavens. And I saw the sons of the holy angels treading upon flames of fire. Their garment was white, and their clothing and the light of their face was like snow. And I saw two rivers of fire, and the light of that fire shone like hyacinth, I believe that's it. And I fell upon my face in front of the Lord's spirits. And Michael, the archangel, and the angel Michael, one of the archangels, took hold of me by my right hand and raised me and led me out of all the secrets of mercy and the secrets of righteousness. And it talks about the storehouses of the stars and the lights. And Enoch was carried to the highest heaven. We understand that in Genesis chapter 5, all we get is Enoch was and was not, for God have taken him. Well, where did God take him? That's a very big gray area. And if Enoch was a actual person that walked the earth, walked with God 365 years, according to the Bible, then that would mean that Enoch was, shown stuff. The Most High talked to Enoch just like he talked to all other prophets. And the spirit carried Enoch off to the highest heaven, and I saw there in the middle of that light something built of crystal stones. And in the middle of those stones, tongues of living fire. And this is talking about also, what is that part? This alludes to the firmament, the thing built of crystal stones and stuff like that. And then it talks about the seraphim and the cherubim and the Ophanim. And this is the creatures, or how could I put it? These are like these are like angels or whatever. I can't really like explain it, but we understand that there was a cherub that was placed at the garden to guard the garden that Adam and Eve wouldn't go back in. It's cherubim. And I saw angels who could not be counted, thousands and thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000 surround that house. Kind of reminds me of what Jude says when he quotes Enoch. When Jude quoted Enoch, talks about the 10,000 times 10,000 angels here. Also, let me see. Also up here, this is where Enoch was quoted from Jude. So when you go into Jude, for those that probably don't, probably don't understand why Enoch was quoted in Jude. This is Jude quoted directly from Enoch. Said, these are the words of the blessings of Enoch, according to which he blessed the chosen and righteous who must be present in the day of distress, which is appointed, and for the removal of all the wicked and impious. And Enoch began his story and said, there was a righteous man whose eyes were opened by the Lord, and he saw a holy vision in the heavens, in which the angels showed to me, and I heard everything from them and understood what I saw. But not for this generation, but for a distant generation that will come. Concerning the chosen I spoke and uttered a parable concerning them. The holy and great one will come out of his dwelling, and the eternal God will tread from there upon Mount Sinai. We understand where this happened. And he will appear with his host and appear in the strength of his power from heaven. And all will be afraid, and the watchers will shake, and fear and great trembling will seize them up to the ends of the earth. Again, the ends of the earth. And the high mountains will be shaken, and the high hills will be laid low and will melt like wax in a flame, talking about landslides. When you look at a landslide, it looks like exactly what he's talking about here. And the earth will sink, and everything that is on the earth will be destroyed. And there will be judgment upon all. Remember, heaven and earth is going to pass away, and upon all the righteous. But for the righteous, he will make peace, and he will keep safe the chosen, and mercy will be upon them. And they will all belong to God, and they will prosper and be blessed. And the light of God will shine on them. Revelation 20, I believe it's 21. It could be 22, where it talks about they're not going to need the sun or the moon for any light. That's going to be the light of God and of the Lamb that's going to shine in the New Jerusalem. And behold, let's get this part right here. This is where Jude quotes from, right here. We're going to do a comparison to Jude, what Jude quoted dealing with Enoch. Right? Because Jude talks about, the coming of the second coming of Christ here. So you go down here, and it talks about it. And Enoch also, seventh from Adam, prophesied. He had a prophecy of these, saying, behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. This is where Jude quotes it from. And behold, he comes with 10,000 holy ones to execute judgment upon them, and to destroy the impious, and to contend with all flesh concerning everything that the sinners and the impious have done and wrought against him. Then it goes into God's law, right? So let me get back down here. Let me get back down here to 87. There's another part in here that I want to kind of read. So the head of days is the Father. And we get the same description that we get in our Bible, don't we? And with them, the head of days, his head white and pure like wool, and his garments indescribable. And then it talks about Enoch being, his spirit being transformed. Then it talks about Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Phanuel. And it tells you all this stuff down here. Talking about there will be length of days with that Son of Man. So we understand that Enoch was talking about Christ in here as well. And there will be length of days with that Son of Man, and the righteous will have peace, and the righteous will have an upright way in the name of the Lord of Spirits forever and ever. Lord of Spirits is the Father again. So then Enoch was shown this place here, and there I saw the secrets of the thunder, and how when it crashes in heaven above, the sound of it is heard. And they showed me the dwellings of the dry ground and the sound of the thunder, for peace and for blessing, or for a curse, according to the word of the Lord Spirits. And then it talks about the other stuff here. It talks about the storehouses of the winds, the foundations of heaven, and the power of the light of the moon. Doesn't say the power of the light of the sun that shines off the moon here. All right. Let's see. Let me go on to page 93 real quick, because this is about the thunders and stuff like that. Oh, actually, this is another thing. This is talking about, where is this at? This is talking about that part that's talking about the firmament here. Let me see here. Where is that part that talks about the firmament? Where is it? Okay, boom. It's somewhere right here. Proper time, rain, turn back. All right, let's see. Oh, the spirit of the sea is male and strong, according to, no, it's not it. It's talking, where is this part about the firmament? So it's basically saying here that the Most High controls the weather. This is 93 right here. The revolution of lights talks about how the sun and the moon move. And then I'm going to go on to 110. After that, page 110. And then I'm going to go into Ezra here. Just read this. And we're going to line it up one with another. Okay. And we're going to start at the very beginning. Actually, this is the wrong one. We're going to start at the very beginning up here. All right. So Ezra is talking about it. So this is the lights. So I'm going to keep this one kind of short. It's kind of long here. The book of the revolutions of the lights of heaven, each as it is, according to their classes, according to their periods of rule and their times, according to their names and places of origin, and according to their months, that Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, and is their leader, showed me. And he showed me all their regulations exactly as they are, for each year of the world forever and forever, until the new creation shall be made, which will last forever. So let's talk about when a new heaven and new earth, right here, the new creation. And then, oops, what did I do? Why my screen just go? All right, let me refresh this. So page 93 talks about, and this is the first law of the lights, the light called the sun. All right, let's go into Genesis. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. When you go here, it says this is the first law of the lights, the light called the sun. Its rising is in the gates of heaven toward the east. Sun rises in the east every morning, and its setting is in the western gates of heaven. Sun sets in the west. I saw 6 gates which the sun rises, and talks about the moon also rises and sets in those gates. Now, the sun is not very fascinating. The thing that I find very fascinating is the moon. And that's where I want to go to real quick. So the moon, it talks about the moon, how it changes its courses. Like sometimes it'll be in front of the sun, and sometimes it'll be behind the sun. Sometimes it'll be in the day, and sometimes it will be in the night. Let me get to that part. And that's exactly what you see. You know, you see the sun, like right now, the moon let me see. Right now, the moon is in front of the sun. So before the sun rises early in the morning, early in the morning, you'll see the sun, the moon rise. And then after that, the light comes, and then the sun rises, right? The sunrise. And tomorrow when you wake up or whatever, just wake up. First thing you do, go outside, look up. You'll see the moon out at around, I'll say about 6, 7, 8 in the morning. You'll see it right in front of the sun. Then about 3 months later, go out when the moon is behind the sun, which means that the sun will rise, and then to the left of the sun or behind the sun, you'll see the moon. Okay, I got many videos showing that. And they both rise and set in the east. I mean, rise in the east and set in the west. Let me find where this thing is about the moon. And also our years are screwed up. Okay. Talks about the year amounts to exactly 364 days. But on our calendars, we're told 365. But again, so this is talking about the sun. This is talking about the sun and the moon. And thus it rises and sets, and neither decreases nor rests, but runs day and night in its chariot, and its light is 7 times brighter than that of the moon, but in size the two are equal. But wait a minute. It's another thing I find flawed about science. The sun is supposed to be bigger than the moon and 400 times farther away, which make them the same size, which is totally nonsense. Because when you bring the sun, if it's that far away, right, and then it's supposed to be 400,000 times bigger than the moon, then if you bring the moon and the sun closer together, they would not be the same size. The sun would actually be bigger than the moon if indeed the moon and the sun were brought close together. We know it's not the fact. Okay. There's plenty of days I went out, I filmed both the sun and the moon. They look the same size to me. But, you know. And after this, I saw another law for the lesser light. Oh, what's the lesser light? What's the lesser light? And this is in Genesis, by the way. What is the lesser light? And after this, I saw another law for the lesser light named the moon. And it talks about it being a disk. And its disk is like the disk of the sun. And the wind blows its chariot on which it rides, and in fixed measure, light is given to it. And it talks about, and every month, its rising and setting change. So this is what I find fascinating about the moon. So every month, the moon changes its setting. Sometimes it'll set. Let me just read this, because this is where it's going to say it. And every month, its rising and setting change, and its days are as the days of the sun. And when its light is uniformly full, it is a seventh part of the light of the sun. So the sun gives the moon seventh part. Then the moon takes its own light. And this is where you see what they would call the waxing and the waning of the moon. You see the crescent moon. One time you'll see the crescent moon. It'll be on one side. Let me just do this real quick. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. Let's go to some images here. And they put this stupid ball earth there. Let's go down here. This is false. I think they know, because it's the only way that they could, the only way that they could tell, right? Then they put, this ball earth. Just imagine this. Let's take a look at this real quick. So according to them, a full moon is lit up behind the earth, but when the moon is closer to the sun, it ain't lit up. But wait, I thought this thing here bounces the sunlight onto the moon. So how is it lit up over here, but it's dark right here? It just doesn't make sense, does it? But anyway, let's get this real quick. Let's find a chart. The phases of the moon. Here we go. Here's a chart right here. So, as you see, there will be crescent, little sliver of a crescent, and then this little sliver, 3 days. Then it'll be new moon. And then it reverses. Then the sliver's over here. This one goes this way and this one goes that way. Then you'll see it light up. This is just exactly as Enoch saw it, lighting up. Half moon, almost full, full moon. So let's see here. It's actually supposed to be 14 days after a new moon that you'll get a full moon. So let's count the days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and here on the 14th day, you get new moon, full moon, new moon, full moon. Enoch talks about 14 days after the moon is lit up, or actually, well, let me get that part real quick. Let's just read this part real quick. And thus it rises, and its first phase is toward the east. It rises on the 13th morning. So on the 13th morning, it rises. And on that day, it appears and becomes for you the first phase of the moon on the 13th morning, together with the sun in the gate through which the sun rises. So this is talking about this new moon here. Because when the full moon happens, it's at night. When a new moon happens, it's with the sun. This is the first phase of the moon here, the new moon. Then it's full moons. New moon is always dark. You really can't see a new moon, which I don't understand why they call it a new moon. But it's another one here. Let's get this other part. And on that day, it receives a 7th part of light, and half of its light, its light amounts to 7th and a 7th part and a half moon phases. This is what it's talking about right here at day 2, right here, right? It doesn't, let me just see here. This is when the moon sets with the sun. And it sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with it. It's kind of like when you start to see, I wish I had something to show you guys real quick on how that works. So the moon, this is at the new moon. As you see with the phases, the new moon is the first phase. Then it starts receiving its 7th part of light. Then it gets a little bit more. It goes through the phases here. 14 days after a new moon, there's a full moon. And this is what Enoch is being shown here. So it rises on that day with exactly a 7th part, goes out, recedes from rising with the sun. That means it falls back from rising with the sun and becomes bright on the remainder of its days in the other 6th and 7th parts. And when you look at this moon phase, here's it becoming bright on the 6th and 7th parts. Another journey and law I saw for it, in that according to its law, it makes its monthly journey. And Uriel shows in this. In 7 parts, it makes all its light, all its darkness full. In 7 parts, it makes all its darkness full. And in 7th part, it makes all its light full. Right? Talks about the new moon and the full moon. All its parts dark, all its parts light here. And in certain months, it change. Oh, wait. All right. So, yeah. It changes its settings, and in certain months, it follows its own individual course. Now, you know, when they talk about super moons and how the moon looks kind of close, or a little bit like it's just hanging right there, right? Let me see if I could pull up a picture of a super moon. Let's see here. This is what a super moon look like. When it looks like it's just hanging there, right? Pictures of super moons, right? Why does the moon look like it's at level, with this, dealing with this course that it's in? And these are actual photos, not what NASA give people. Just like many people saw this before, right? But, let me see what else. Let's get another example here. Supermoons, right? Just like we got 12 so-called full moons. I believe 2 of which will be supermoons, and 1 is going to be a lunar eclipse. Right. And then people speculate on, the signs pertaining to what Christ said when he say, the moon will be turned to blood, right? Moon will be turned to blood. And the sun will turn black like sackcloth. This is what he's talking about. Lunar eclipse and solar eclipse, right? This is the only way you're going to see the moon black. There's no other way. Only time you're going to see, let's just look at this. The only time you're going to see the sun black as sackcloth during the eclipse. Only time you're going to see the moon red like blood is during the lunar eclipse, which is what you see when you look at a blood moon. What they dubbed it, blood moon, for a reason. Okay? The moon's going to turn like blood, red like blood. The sun is sackcloth. But, it's just, All right, so let me just cover one more thing in Enoch, and then I'm going to jump into Esdras real quick. So it talks about in 2 months it sets with the sun, and those 2 gates that are in the middle, in the third and in the 4th gate. It goes out for 7 days and turns back, returns again to the gate from which the sun rises. So this is the moon taking its own course, right? It goes with the moon. The moon goes and rises with the sun. Then it retreats from the sun. Let's get this stuff up here. The moon falls behind. Where is that at? Let me see here. I think it's down here. Let's go down here. All right. So it talks about this. If you got a calculator, plug these numbers in. Okay, so it's 364 days in a year, according to Enoch. What Enoch was shown. 364 days in a year. Let me see. All right, so 364 days in a year. And if 5 years were added together, the sun has an excess of 30 days. For each year of the 5 years, there are 364 days. So we get this number, 364 days, the sun goes and rises and complete a year, right? And as you see down here, it says it. And the moon conducts the years exactly, all of them according to their eternal position. They are neither late nor early nor late, even by 1 day, but change their year in exactly 364 days. in 3 years. So 364 times 3 would be 1,092 days. In 5 years, 5 times 364 would be 1820. And in 8 times 364, there's going to be 912 days. And the moon are negative 50. They're 50 days behind the sun in 5 years. Right? And actually, well, let me see. This is, in 5 years, the moon is behind the sun, 50 days. 8 years, the moon is behind the sun, 80 days. So 5 is 50, 8 days is 80, and in 3 years, it's behind 30 days. So you would take, let me see, for the moon alone, there's 1,062. So if you take this right here and you subtract 1,092, you'll get 30. You take 1,770, subtract 1,820, and you'll see that there's a 50-day difference. Then when you subtract 2,832 from 912, it's behind 80 days or so. Yeah, 80 days. So it talks about the difference of 8 years is 80 days. And all the days that the moon is behind in 8 years are 80 days. And it tells you right there. So if you want to go check the math, you can with the numbers they use here. So sun rises and sets for 30 days. And some days when they're transitioning, it's an extra day added. So if every month was 30 days, I think it's only like 4 months, or between seasons is when you get the extra day added. Let's get this off here. Going through that, let's go into Ezra here. Because Ezra gives the creation account here, dealing with Genesis. I said, O Lord, thou didst speak at the beginning of creation, and didst say on the first day, let heaven and earth be made, and thy word accomplished the work. Let's see what this says in the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. This is what you're going to hear right here. And then the Spirit was hovering, and darkness and silence embraced everything. The sound of man's voice was not yet there. Again, without form and void, darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. This is what Ezra is going to get into next. Then thou didst command that a ray of light be brought forth from thy treasuries, so that thy works might then appear. On the second day, thou didst create the spirit of the firmament, and didst command him to divide and separate the waters, that one part might move upward, and the other part remain beneath. Here, second day. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divide the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above. This is what it's saying right here. Again, on the second day, thou didst create the spirit of the firmament, and didst command him to divide and separate the waters, that one part might move upward, that means upward, and the other remain beneath. On the third day, let's go to the third day here. God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. Ezra says, on the third day, thou didst command the waters to be gathered together in the seventh part of the earth. 6 parts thou didst dry up, and keep, so that some of them might be planted and cultivated and be of service before thee. For thy word went forth, and at once the work was done. And we understand that in the beginning it was the Father and the Son. And the Father commanded it, the Son built it. For immediately fruit came forth in endless abundance, and a varied apparel to the taste, and flowers of immutable color, and odors of inexpressible fragrance. These were made on the third day. As we see in our Bible, let the earth bring forth grass and herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after its kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. Okay, this is all on the third day, right here. Then it goes into the fourth day. And on the fourth day, thou didst command the brightness of the sun, the light of the moon, and the arrangement of the stars to come into being. And thou didst command them to serve man who was about to be formed. Again, fourth day, God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. Let them be for signs, like your blood moons and your eclipses, for seasons, winter, summer, spring, and fall, for days and years, to count the time. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth, and it was so. It's what it's created for. It is nothing but lights, right? On the fifth day, thou didst command the seventh part of water to be gathered together and bring forth living creatures, birds and fishes. And so it was done. The dumb and lifeless water producing living creatures as it was commanded. That therefore the nations might declare thy wondrous works. Again. No, they're not declaring the wondrous works of God. They're declaring the wondrous works of science here. God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. Then it goes down to tell you about Behemoth and Leviathan. Then on the sixth day, thou didst command the earth to bring forth before thee cattle, beasts, and creeping things. Let's go back into. And God said, this is what he's saying. Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing and beast of the earth after his kind. It was so. Why is it saying the same thing? And why was this taken out the Bible? And over these thou didst place Adam. We understand that when Adam was formed, he was, let's get that story, right? Let's get that story. Second chapter, Genesis. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And this is talk about the seventh day. God ended his work and rested and blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. This is why one of the commandments is remember the Sabbath and to keep it holy, because it's a sanctified day. It is a day that God blessed. And it talks about the generations of the heavens and earth. Where is this? So we get this whole thing about Adam being, about Adam being created. And then you go down here, and this is what God said again. And Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. Should be alone. I will make him make an help meet for him. And out of the ground the Lord formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. That's what Ezra's talking about right here. And over these did thou place Adam as ruler over all the works which thou hast made. And from him we have all come, the people whom thou hast chosen. And it talks about down here, why do God people suffer? Right. Why do God's people suffer? It talks about Adam, the sin of Adam there. But I just find this very, very interesting that when you read Enoch, you read Genesis, and all the other chapters that mention the firmament and the cornerstones and the pillars and the all that stuff dealing with how God created the earth. But we're told that it was a big bang. Where's God? Was God the big bang? I'm just saying. It just doesn't make sense. Let's see here. No, I think the way the Most High created the moon is the way it's been since the beginning of time. I don't per se believe that there's asteroids or comets or meteors or anything like that. Okay, it's not mentioned in his creation. Okay, space ain't even mentioned in his creation. He says there's water above the firmament, right? And if God said that's what's up there, I put my 100% trust in God, when he says, I put this up there. Let me see what else here. Let me see here. Let me see here. Let me see. Let me bring up something real quick. Let me just bring something up really, really quick. Let me see if I can get this up without my connection messing up. Let me just find something real quick. I told you guys I was going to find this video real quick, but let me just do something real quick. Let me go somewhere. Let me do some videos. Let's see here. I believe I got it. Let me see. Let me find something real quick. Oh, it probably might be all the way down here. All right, so I'm not gonna look for that. I was gonna go to my channel and look for something, but let me just show you guys something. This is the video right here. Let me pause it because I don't want to play this ad. So just give me a second. I'm about to share something real quick. All right, let's see here. All right, let me share this real quick. Let me see. Here we go. I want to see how this is possible. Can anybody tell me how this right here is possible? I'm just curious. Just curious. Let's start this.
You probably wouldn't believe this if we didn't show you. Here's at our balcony. It's about 10 o'clock at night, and it's almost dark. It's amazing. You can see the moon shining and reflecting brilliantly on the water. But then as you pan to the left, it's actually still daylight over here, and the sunset. Look at that beauty. And it won't ever completely settle over there. It will stay light. Actually, all night. But over here.
Now, this guy said it's 10 o'clock at night where he's at. 10 o'clock p.m. Can anybody share with me how that's possible? I'm just curious. 10 at night. 10 at night. I'm just curious. But I'm not going to stay on here too much longer. I really do hope people go and study that whole subject I did and all that good stuff, and start asking some questions, right? When stuff don't line up with what we're supposed to believe, especially in the Bible, dealing with, we know God created everything. We know he created heaven and earth. He told us how he created it. But then we got these other people telling us different, right? That's why I say I used to be there. I used to be there until I started reading this stuff, and then I started asking questions. And that's all I ask you guys to do. Ask questions, see if things add up. Because at the end of the day, someone's wrong. And I don't believe God's wrong. But anyway, I got to get up and go. Try and figure out what's going on with this. And I'm gonna try and get back into the Jeremiah stuff. Just some interesting stuff, because I've been looking for 5 years, and as you guys know, I got a telescope now, and I probably might post a video in the morning tomorrow showing the moon out with the sun. So it's exactly what Enoch was talking about. You can see it for yourself. It's nothing that, is hidden. With that said, shalom, everybody. I hope you have a blessed day, and Shabbat shalom for those that keep the Sabbath. Shalom.